All right, coming up at the top of the hour, we have
Some sort of bad Johnny Carson over there.
hardball huggies.
Mm.
We're going to talk baseball.
Talk about stealing home.
It's on the list.
Well, I mean, they gave up 11, so
A little rough, but
a little rough.
But first, Oregon State signed a home and home with Wake Forest.
Yeah.
So let's get excited about that.
Didn't Wake Forest just get the piss taken out of them because they got hammered by Ole Miss and then they bailed on Ole Miss? Wasn't that Wake Forest?
Yeah, that's where Lane Kiffin called them.
Yeah, basically called them cowards.
Cowards, yeah.
Yeah, so they had a home. They had a home and away with Wake Forest, and Ole Miss just absolutely drubbed Wake Forest. And then, like a day or two after, Ole Miss was like, "Yeah, we're not playing the next year."
No, Wake Forest said that.
Yeah, Wake Forest said it.
You said Ole Miss.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Wake Forest was like, "Yeah, we're not playing
Yeah.
the game," and Lane Kiffin was like, "You cowardly sons of bitches."
And then
What an exciting time.
Oregon State jumped in and like, "Yeah, we'll play you."
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh yeah, you suck. We'll play you. This is great."
Turns out if you're Wake Forest, Ole Miss, a little scary. Oregon State, not so much.
I like this game. You know, ACC opponent, winnable game.
There you go.
I think this is the way Oregon State should be scheduling games like this. I really do. And I know it probably doesn't blow a lot of the fans' hair back.
Sure.
To have a home game against Wake Forest, but it's better than, I don't know, probably better than playing Oregon.
Well, you're gonna find this out in that, like, because it's not an independent schedule per se, but essentially you're not having the Mountain West thing. So for at least 1 year, you're going to have to build an independent schedule. But a lot of those games are already loaded, right? So you're not starting from scratch. And then going forward, you have the Mountain West schedule. But like when BYU was independent, or like even when we were in the Mountain West, it's a fine line that you have to walk, because you want to give your fans and your team meaningful games, but you also can't be scheduling games that you really don't have much of a chance in. Fresno State's a good example of this. You know, Pat Hill always had we'll play anyone at any time. And we do remember a handful of those times where Fresno State won those games, but you realize 95% of the time they got their teeth kicked in. And when they scheduled 2 or 3 of those, and then they would get into Mountain West play, or at the time, whatever it was, the Western Athletic Conference, that they would be so beat up from those games that they would lose a couple games that they shouldn't have. And so it's like, if you're Oregon State and Washington State, how do you want to schedule going forward? Because if you've got Oregon on your schedule every year, you're already playing one top 10 team.
Yeah.
Do you really want to schedule an Oregon and then like an Ole Miss?
No.
No,
I think you want to schedule winnable games.
But then you don't.
But you don't get as much money. The fans are going to show up, I think. But I guess you could ask this question if you're talking about the fans, because you got to be careful saying the fans are going to show up. But if you are going to lose by 40 to Ole Miss, or at least on paper be a 3-touchdown underdog, would the fans rather have that or rather have a competitive game?
Yeah, see, I don't know.
And I think it'd be the latter.
Yeah, that's why I said, to me it's a tough needle to kind of thread.
Well, I think you try to schedule so that it would be a fun schedule that all your games are pretty good but winnable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what the rest of their schedule looks like.
Sure.
You know, that's not bad.
No.
It's not a bad route to go.
No.
So
it gives you the best chance. I mean, the next 2 years you can't be part of the group of 5, so you're not making it an at-large berth. But when you do relaunch the Pac-12 in 2 years, you know, it does behoove you just to be undefeated.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they can't ignore you if you run the table.
No.
Well, I guess they can.
Well,
but they likely won't.
Well, someone has to get in from that group of 5.
Yeah.
So, you know, scheduling is about to become more
it's different.
Yeah, it's going to be different.
And I like these games. This one makes a lot of sense. So Wake Forest is going to be in Corvallis next season.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2029 they will head back to what town is Wake Forest?
Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
There you go. Tobacco country.
Yeah. It's beautiful out there. September trip to North Carolina is not a bad trip if you're a Beaver.
No, that's cool.
It's a long way out there, but
yeah, but it's different. And when are you going to get
nice.
out there again and see some beautiful fall leaves and whatnot? I'd get on a.
I believe they call that foliage.
Foliage. If I was a Beaver fan, I'd get on the plane for that one. Absolutely, it's better than getting on a plane and again going to play like a top 10 team where you're like, oh my God, I don't want to go out there and
What about Ole Miss? You want to go down there?
I do want to go to Ole Miss, but I would like if I was
You
a
do?
Beaver fan, and Ole Miss supposedly is great.
Ole Miss would be at the very top of my list.
Dude, they
Supposedly,
say-
Really?
tailgating in the Grove is
Dude,
supposed
they
to be
say
like
Ole Miss
the best
is,
pregame
What town is
experience.
that?
Oxford,
Oxford.
Mississippi.
Oxford.
Yeah,
It's supposed to
people-
be the best tailgate experience in college
Dude,
football.
people just won't shut up about it. Say it's incredible.
Probably a lot of hots.
Yes,
Many.
many hots, and they just said the whole thing is a kick-ass place. But like if I was a Beaver fan and the Civil War happened, and then I got a week off, and then you're telling me I got to get on a plane and go play Jackson Dart and this Ole Miss team, I'm not certain I want to go do that. It's
All right.
a little rough.